So I honestly didn't notice that something was wrong, that something was off right away. But little by little, I started asking questions and I started to realize that something was off. Today, I would like to speak with you about a certain priest in the community that I was in. And I wanted to describe you how we saw him before things kind of went down. So before things went down, he was a great speaker. He was always known as having special gifts. And when I say special gifts, I mean people would say he can read your heart, he can read your soul. Another thing that they would say is he can smell your sins. And if you go to confession with him, he'll tell you what are the sins that are staining your soul. So I never had anything like that, but many people did share stories like that. So they really puffed up this image that this priest was extremely holy. And there were also stories that he was this terror of demons and that he was just a super powerful exorcist. And so, what I'm trying to do here is share with you how I viewed this certain priest. We viewed him as extremely holy. We viewed him as someone who couldn't make mistakes. How can someone who is so powerfully holy, who has these gifts, who has, as some would say, the stigmata, how can it be that he's a bad person? And so if you were to tell me 15 years ago, hey, be careful with that priest because he's dangerous, I would get upset with you, and I would say that you're a liar and that you're just an agent of Satan trying to bring down something holy. And yet here I am years later sharing some of the things that I witnessed and experienced in this environment, and it breaks my heart. I'm not doing this out of hatred. I'm doing this because I don't feel it's right to be lying to people. And that's when I left the group, when I left the culty side of that group, I felt just so confused because I knew bad things were happening, but we had to keep silent about it. And then they would tell us, the highest law is the salvation of souls. So, like, if you're staying quiet, maybe it's going against your conscience, but just remember, it's for a higher reason. We're saving souls through our silence, so you don't want to scandalize people. But the thing is that when you're silent, abuses can keep on recycling themselves and happen over and over. And sadly, sometimes victims become abusers as well. So this is a heads up that what I'm going to be talking about is going to be a bit dark and hard for some of the audience, especially those who had children, sons, and daughters around this certain priest. And I'm not going to name him, but I'm just going to say that he was the head of the U.S. province of the brothers and sisters, and that he would travel to Australia very much and to Europe and help Father Bing. And so, just a heads up, some of these things that I'm going to be sharing might be hard for some people to stomach. So I wanted to start the actual story it's around the year 2009, and I was told by my superior in the Philippines that I had been chosen to be a U.S. missionary and that I would be in the U.S. for 6 months to help out this certain priest and his mission, the mission province. So I was so excited, and I go to America and I don't see him. Instead of seeing that priest, I see Father Jose. And I've mentioned Father Jose in other podcasts, but this episode has nothing bad about Father Jose. So I go to the U.S. and I don't see him. But you know what? I had no questions, no red flags. So for like the first 2 weeks, I'm just doing whatever duties they give me, gardening, just pray. A very simple life. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I've been here already for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I haven't seen that certain priest. So I asked one of the brothers there, hey, where is Father so and so? And his response was, he's on mission. He's like, okay, mission where? And I was like, well, actually, he's in the Philippines. I said, oh, so when is he coming back? We don't know. It's like, okay, no red flags. But then maybe a month later, 2 months later, I get a phone call. Not me personally, but the house. We get a phone call, and I pick up the phone, and it is a relative of this certain priest. And she asked me, hey, where is Father so and so? And I said, oh, I'm not sure. May I ask who is asking? And her response was, well, I'm the relative of Father so and so, and I haven't been able to communicate with him in a few months. What's going on? And since it's the relative, I told her, oh, Father so and so is in the Philippines. And right when I said that, another member comes in. Maybe he was spying, maybe he was eavesdropping, and anyways, he comes in and he starts telling me, no, don't say that, don't say that. So I'm freaking out. Oh, did I do something wrong? And I said, oh, he's in the Philippines for a couple days because he had a retreat or something with Father Bing, but after that he should be back in what do you call it, a mission somewhere in Europe. So I had to make something up right on the spot, and she's like, "Oh, well, when is he going to be back in in your community in Dover, Delaware, where he is the superior?" And my response was, "Oh, I don't know." And I don't remember exactly from there how the conversation went, but I remember afterwards feeling kind of weird because I'm thinking, why are we lying to the family member of this priest? If he's in the Philippines, just tell her. Just tell her, hey, he's in the Philippines. But there was like a big commotion. No, 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 you can't say that. But since I already said it, I had to think of some way to get out of that situation. So a few months go by, and she calls again and again, and because sometimes I'm the only one home, and I was the elder member at the time, I would answer, and I would have to continue this lie. Oh, he's not here. Oh, he just left for mission. Oh, he should be back in a few days. You just missed him. So I'm making up these lies, but even if someone else were to answer, it was the same alibi. We had that same alibi. He's on mission. So as the years go by, so that was 2009. So, and I was in Dover, Delaware from 2009 to 2012. I remember finding out that that certain priest had gone to the Philippines and he was living a life as a monk, but I didn't understand why, and we couldn't ask questions, or at least I couldn't ask questions. I didn't want to get in trouble. I mean, I wasn't that stupid. But I remember it was probably the end of 2011 or somewhere in 2012 when we had a meeting in our house, our house in Dover, a meeting with supporters. They're not part of the cult side of it, you know. But anyways, we had a meeting with these lay people who were supporting our prayer groups, because we had prayer groups, and it was just you gathered like once every 2 weeks, I believe it is, and we pray together, say a rosary, read a couple Bible passages, and just chit chat. So it was nice. You know, I can talk to people, and we would have our coffee, and that was nice. But so we had several groups in Dover, Delaware, where they would lay people would meet up and have these meetings. So the heads of those groups who were supportive of our movement, And like I said, I don't feel that they were involved in any way with the cult side. That's something totally different. But we had a meeting with them and with Father Bing. And I remember joining this meeting. And if someone is doubting me, I remember exactly where it was. It was in the conference room in the formation house. And I remember Father Bing had the microphone, and he was talking. He had a Q&A with the people who were present. And I remember one of the persons there. She was like the leader from these leaders. Very nice woman, and no BS. Direct to the point, very frank. And she raised her hand, and Father Bing called her to speak, and she goes, Father Bing, I have a question. Where is Father so and so? Because since Father Jose has come here, things have not been organized, and I'm not trying to put him down, but it would be nice to have Father so and so back, because things were in order and things were flowing with the missions and everything, and now things seem to be in a bit of disorder. So where is Father so and so? He just disappeared, and no one has told us anything. And I remember Father Bing's response, and he said, "Oh, it's okay, Father so and so. He's been on mission for so many years, and we're grateful for all the work that he has done. But Father so and so has been telling me that over the years that he really wanted to be a monk, and I would tell him, no, we need you for the missions. But a couple years ago, me and the council, we decided that we'll have him become a monk. So now," and he's looking at the lady, "now I assure you that Father so and so, he is now a monk. He's in the Philippines in the monastery with the CPH, and he is praying for all of you. And that really, always in his heart, he always wanted to be a monk. He never wanted to be a missionary, but we needed him for the missions. But now we're allowing Father Jose to take the spot, and Father so and so, he's living a life of prayer for everyone whom he has met on the missions." And so his answer was believable. It's like, okay, this priest has been on mission for so many years, and as a missionary, they would travel all the time. They would always be traveling, from what I remember. And I wanted that life. I wanted that life of traveling with them. That's partly why I joined, because I've always had this adventure, this thirst for adventure, and I remember just seeing them traveling a lot, and I wanted that because deep down, I've loved traveling. Even if I'm not in a religious group, I just want to travel. I want to see the world. And so going back to that priest, who else are we to believe? Father Bing just told us that he had always wanted, that this certain priest had always wanted to be a monk. And the life of a monk is a life of silence, a life of prayer and penance. And so the way the story is presented to us is, wow, this priest, Father so-and-so, he was a missionary even though he didn't want to be. So he was carrying his cross. He finally got his prayers answered, and now he's a missionary in the Philippines. And I felt happy for him. So shortly after that, we get kicked out of Delaware, and I go back to the Philippines. And when I was in the Philippines, I was in a community in Cebu. And it was all right. It was so-so. But I had learned that some of the brothers in my community had seen that priest, that certain priest that I was talking about. And I asked, where is he at? Is he with the monks or what? And the response was, no, he's with the Koth. And the Koth, they are contemplative nuns. So my question was, why on earth is he with the nuns if he's he's supposed to be a monk. So when I started asking those questions, the responses I was getting was, "Oh, he's a spiritual director to the Koth." Another thing that I was being told was, those sisters, they're very sensitive, so he's there to give exorcisms. But I'm not trying to fall into the gender debate. I'm just strictly speaking about the group. But it was awkward because the males, the brothers, the monks, the way we were treated was, you cannot look at a sister. If a woman is nearby, you need to turn your body, you need to look down on the floor, and you need to stay the hell away from them. And so I'm thinking, well, if he's a spiritual director or doing exorcisms, whatever, number one, does he have permission to be giving exorcisms? And number two, why does he have to live there? If we have been trained to avoid the females, to avoid the sisters at all costs, why is he getting this exception? What's going on? So at this period, I'm starting to not really rebel, but red flags are starting to go off left and right. And in a previous podcast interview, I was with Dr. Yanya Lalich, and she has shared, not only on my podcast, but in several different areas, she has shared that sometimes a cult member has like this shelf within their mind. And every time there is a red flag, every time that there is something that doesn't look right, that member will say, "Oh, it's not true. I'm just gonna move on." But internally, that idea, which goes against their beliefs, goes on this shelf. And so at this period, maybe 2013, 2014. My shelf is ready to explode, and I'm just barely holding on to it. But there are just so many red flags. Why is he there? Because all the rest of us, the way we have been trained, it doesn't go well with me. So it was only after I left the community that I started asking more questions. But this wasn't right away. This was, over time, because I had my own demons to get through. And so I asked, why on earth was Father Bing so secretive about Father so-and-so? He only spoke up when asked. But when there's such a big move, there should be an announcement, there should be transparency, and they just took him out of there and sent him to the Philippines. And why is it that he's with the nuns? I can understand he's a spiritual director or he's doing deliverance, but the rest of the priests, they come back to the quarters with the other men. They come back in our mission house. Why is he being treated so differently? And the answer I got from a few people was, that priest isn't who you think he is. You should be careful around him. And so that's why he's with the sisters. And I'm like, well, what do you mean that's why he's with the sisters? And the responses I have gotten from a few sources is that they didn't trust him around the brothers anymore. And I asked why, and those answers I can't share with you, but I think that Father Bing needs to be transparent and share exactly what he knew, exactly why did he hide this priest, and why didn't he tell the families that they were around a priest who was dangerous. And maybe what I have heard isn't 100% true. Maybe it is 100% true. But at that level of the leadership, there has to be transparency. Father Bing, man, and it's hard because I love Father Bing. He taught me so much, but he would go on his homilies and he would blast the church. He would build this us versus them mentality, and it's like look at us, look at our priests, look at our seminarians. They're all so disciplined. They're all military like, and that's how we were trained to be tough, to be like soldiers, and that's how we were trained. And then Father Bing would say stuff like, and if you look at the priests from the diocese, they are lazy. If you look at other seminarians, they eat whatever food they want. But look at our members. They are strict and disciplined. So over time, I'm remembering all those things that Father Bing would say about other priests, about other dioceses, about other communities, and how he was so zealous at preaching how shitty they were. He was on fire to kind of, in the style of his preaching, to show how his members were the best of the best. And so he would shit on these other groups, saying, look how lazy they are. See, they eat whatever they want. Look at us. We fast Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Man. And so when I started hearing that this certain priest had potentially harmed several people, something started ringing in my head. Why the hell didn't Father Bing address it? I mean, yeah, he hid him in a monastery, a nun monastery, but he told us at that meeting with the lay people, when they asked, where is Father so-and-so? He's with the CPH, he's with the monks, praying and doing penance, but he lied. Because what I heard was that the whole time after that priest left the U.S., he went to stay with those nuns. And so if you're a parent, I would be asking questions. If you were someone who was involved, I would be asking questions. And Father Bing, he needs to be transparent. And he's going to blame someone else. That's what they do. They blame, the leadership was this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then Mother Agnes is going to come in probably and say, oh, no, they're twisting things. No. This should have been addressed years ago. This should have been stopped years ago. It shouldn't have taken me. It shouldn't have taken 2 victims, 3 victims. If there was 1 victim, it should have stopped right there. But no, the continuation of having Father so-and-so hidden, I think it is outrageous. And I think that the people deserve to know, because you had given your time, you had given your money to Father Bing, you had given at times your sons and daughters to follow Father Bing, and maybe even up to now, you're still following Father Bing. But if you are, just please have an open mind. Don't allow yourselves to fall into deceit. Demand answers. Demand transparency. Please, no more obscurity. If they are hiding abuse, let it out. That shit doesn't belong in the church. Abuse doesn't belong anywhere. So that's it for today. And it's been very difficult for me to share these stories, but that's where I end the story from what I know. And if there are victims, I pray for them, because no one deserved any of the bad treatment. And I can't give a first person account, but just from my own research, from my own asking questions, there are many red flags, and they need to be addressed. So Father Bing and the community, they really need to address those things. And it just bothers me that Father Bing over the years was just so gung-ho to shit on other priests, saying, oh yeah, they're all predators. And that in his own community, when he was in charge of the oath, when he was in charge, that something was going down, and he just hid that certain priest. So I hope you all have a good day, and thank you for tuning in. Peace out.